Alright friends, welcome back to another video, and in this video we'll be working on this user module. So whenever we click over here, we'll be getting these information from our database. So let's get started building this exact thing. First of all, we need to add the table layouts over here. So let me go to list users.vue file. List users.vue, which is inside of resources, JS, pages, users, and then list users.vue. Okay, and inside this container fluid, I have already designed the table over here. So let me copy this code. Let me remove this and let me paste it. Save it. And now if I go to the browser, we are getting this table with this dummy data, right? So instead of showing this dummy data, we'll be using a database and we'll be pulling the information from database and show it over here. So to do that, we need to set up the database first. So I have already created the database called Laravel_Vue. So you need to make sure to add the configuration over here in .env file, and I have this admin and password. You may have different one based on your configurations. So after this, you need to run php artisan migrate. I have already run this command previously, so it is saying nothing to migrate, so it may be different for you. And I haven't modified to anything from the default migration for the users table. And we have these tables that comes from this default migration that comes with Laravel. Now let me go to list users.vue file, and over here before the template, let me add the script tag. And with Vue 3 we'll be using script setup. Okay, first of all, let me start by declaring a variable called users with empty array, and inside this, first of all, let me pass the dummy data with the id, name, email, age, zone at example.com. okay, and let me create another one, and email is zen at example.com. Let me remove this, and this is fine. Now let me go below, and over here let's use for loop. v4 user in users, and the key is user.id. Now we'll have two information. If I go over here, refresh this page, we have two users, right, which are coming from this variable. And to make this dynamic, we need to use user.name for username, right? And for email, user.email, and this is fine. And we have one over here. So to fix this, we need to add the index over here, and we can increment the index +1. Perfect. Now we have 1 and 2, right? So here we are just looping over the dummy data. So now let's get this information from our database. So for that, let me create another constant called get users to receive a function, and inside this let's use xuse.get API/users. We have not defined this endpoint. Later we'll define this endpoint. Okay, we will be using this URL to get the users, and after this we'll get the response, and after this we'll be assigned the response to the variable, and for the data we need to use .data. Okay, now we can remove this part, and let's define this endpoint. For this, let me go to web.php file, and let me define the route get/API/users, and here I'm defining these routes inside of web.php file because we'll be using web middleware instead of the API middleware. Before this, let me create the controller first. Okay, using php artisan, make me a controller inside of admin/user controller, and this got created. Now we can use it over here. User controller class and we'll be using the index method. Okay, now let's import this, and this got imported here. Now we can go to this class and let's define the index method, public function index. Inside this, let me define the user variable, and for now we'll just get the latest user and we will just return them. We need to import this user model as well, and it got imported and everything is fine. Now let me go to list users.view file. So now we need to call this method when our component is mounted, right? So with Vue 3 we need to use onMounted function. So let me define that, onMounted, and we can pass the close over here, and inside this we need to call that method, and this will get called. Now if we go to browser, let me open up the console, let me go to the network tab, let me refresh the page, and this get called, right? And we are also getting the data. So now we need to show this information over here, and this is not working as expected because first of all we need to make this variable as reactive using ref, right? Make sure to make this variable as reactive, and we need to import ref from Vue. And here after wrapping this inside of ref function, now this is reactive and mutable, right? And to assign the value to this reactive property, we need to use dot value over here. So make sure to use dot value. Okay, so here you need to remember that first of all you need to make this variable as reactive using ref function, and to assign the value to this reactive property you need to use dot value. So you must remember this with Vue 3. So now if I do this, refresh the page, and this is working, right? Which is perfect. And we are getting those information from database because I already have those information inside of users table. And if you don't have any information, then make sure to use PHP Artisan Tinker, and here you can do user factory create, and the user will get created. If you run it again, another user got created, and if I refresh over here, we are getting those information, right? And these are also on our database, which is perfect. So this much for this video. I hope you learned something from this video, and in the next video we'll be working on these remaining sections related to this user module. So till then, have a great time, and I will see you on the next one.